Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time to delve once again into the world of Steve Jackson's Sorcery. Here we are in the old world, over the ocean from Alancia, over in the east. With of course, was it Kakabad or Minkai or something off to the south? I can't remember the exact name of it. No, Kakabad's on this continent, isn't it? What is the name of the oriental place down to the south? I can't remember now. Oh well. Once again, we are without a coin to our name, subsisting on faith alone, and we've rested overnight here, and we're going to go and see if we can find Rani once again. Because we travelled back in time, so meeting her didn't happen, which means she doesn't know about us. Yeah, it's fiddly. You pick yourself up and brush away the straw from your cloak. You head for the door once more. Now, she may be time sensitive, right? As in, it might be in the evening or, Oh, okay. You skulk down a narrow street lined by low warehouses. You catch the scent of grain as you pass one. The sun breaks over the eastern wall. As you turn a slight corner, you spy 3 guards walking towards you, one dressed in the finery of a captain. Distracted by conversation, they have yet to spot you. Keep my head down, keep walking, act normal. Don't arouse suspicion. You continue walking towards them, your pace steady and breathe even. Nearing the 3, you can make out snatches of talk.
"But how do you manage it?" one asks. "If I said the word, could I do it?" No, the captain replies. "You need to know how to say it, using your will to channel the light, not just a matter of spouting off a word or two."
As they pass by, one peers at your face. Their conversation drops to an ugly murmur as they pass by. The guards nod to you as they pass by, but pay you no more notice. You continue along the short alley. And we'll go this way. You make your way along the quiet, debris-strewn alleyway. There is nothing here but silence and the faintest smell of death. The early morning sun makes the air glow. I'll look at the buildings. The buildings here are clearly inhabited, used only by Mampang's lowest strata of society. These are people without hope. Suddenly a door bursts open next to you. It is Rani, of course, again. If I call her by name, she'll ask how I know her, because I've met her before, but she hasn't met me. Again, time travel. Are you in trouble? This way, when we meet again, she'll know she's told me about the vault.
You could say that, stranger," she smiles. "A few goblins. Nothing I can't handle. Not when I've got bigger irons to fire."
Like what?
She looks at you sideways. "But perhaps you'd be more interested in my newest venture."
I'm listening.
She leans forward. "I'll tell you what I'm after. I'm going to sneak into the Archmage's vaults and steal his greatest treasure, enough to let me buy a ship of my own or a whole island. You could found a convent or something."
Isn't a convent for nuns? And, what treasure?
You ask. Despite her hostility, Rani grins. "You simpleton, I'm going to steal the crown of kings, of course."
You will fail.
She clenches her fist. "Are you so sure? I'm a great thief and accomplished fencer. I will have the crown soon, and all the countries of the old world will be falling over my feet to purchase it. I might even ransom it back to the Archmage if he's willing to pay enough. I'm going to steal the crown," Rani crows. "And that is that. If you have enough to bid for it, then you can make an offer if after I've filched it."
And where are the vaults?
You ask, wondering if she has any useful information. "Ah, well, that's something that I don't
something I know, but you don't. But they're in the city, sure enough. The vaults must be protected. Rani giggles, nods, but says nothing more. You must not take it. Why is that? I'm 1,000 leagues from home, separated from my crew, and standing to gain the wealth of kings. The crown is dangerous. Perhaps you remember it was a monk who told her this first. So? That does not frighten me. Besides, I will quickly ransom it and let whoever pays worry about the danger. Then sadly, you are a fool. I would only be a fool if I let the crown fall into the hands of a self-righteous villager like you. She spits at your feet. But enough talk. If you want to stop me from getting the crown, you better show me your steel. I'll cast a spell. I'm still going to cast a spell. You open your arms to cast a spell instead, and the thief cries out in alarm. But just as Rani is advancing on you, the nearby door bursts open. A group of goblins spill out, tripping over each other. Now, there have been a lot of goblins in this adventure. They've become a fairly universal foe. There she is! One of them points at Rani. And she has a friend! The goblins charge forward. You will quickly be surrounded. I'm not going to throw her to the goblins. That would be dishonourable. I will cast a spell, however. Last time God worked really well, but can I get a Gak as well? Yeah. Oh, wait, but more come out. Well, let's try it. You weave the enchantment, pulling the black face mask over your face. The goblins cower at your visage, and several of them flee outright. You're left with only a small number to engage, and no longer have to worry about a stab in the back. Right. This means Rani's probably getting away again. If I go for about a 4 or 5, let's make it a 5. I'm not sure he can go much higher than a 5. Let's go 5.2. Oh. The goblin rushes forwards across the yard. You try to gauge his size and perform a quick sweeping blow, attempting to catch the monster off guard. It drops away, quivering with fear. The fight rages on around you, Rani cutting down goblins left and right, and they're too scared to fight, which means she's not scared. Interesting. The goblin bares its teeth and spits. Okay, he's getting aggressive. I'm going to actually just pure out defend. I'm glad I did. I was thinking about a free to attack. On instinct, you duck back, watching the goblin carefully. It snarls and charges for you, full force. You knock it aside and it staggers back, howling with rage. The goblin stares at you fearfully. About a 2.4. Yeah, I was right, he was going to defend. You hit the creature with a quick slice on the skull. By sheer luck, the goblin's weapon deflects some of the attack. The goblin hops backwards, looking inclined to dodge. Okay, so go about a 1. Yes. Chasing the goblin, you slash the creature a startling slice on the side. It moves to protect itself, but too slowly. The goblin is weakening. The goblin leaps in a circle around you, looking primed to dodge. Go about a 2 or 3. 3. You maintain your attack on the goblin. You flash the creature a slashing cut on the skull. The goblin leaps to protect itself, but too slowly. The goblin is almost defeated. The creature hoists its dagger in the air. Go kill! You switch your stance and slash at its neck. You have defeated the goblin. It may not be the only one. It looks like it was the only one. The goblins are now in disarray. The survivors have retreated, but in the confusion, Rani has disappeared. The wily pirate has slipped away and is determined to steal the Crown of Kings for herself. You turn to return down the street. And indeed, I shall go back this way. I may have set a chain of events in motion there, but we shall see. You enter the side street where you encountered the trio of guards. I can go back out here and through the marketplace. I don't have the coins for that, but it would be a bit quicker, and I'm wanting to head off in this direction. So, you return to the main road. The road curves along the edge of a tall stone wall, eventually reaching the door to the wheat fields. A few clouds scud across the sky. There is no time to linger, but there might be food in the monastery. You follow the main road around the corner. It passes by the monastery gate. As the morning moves on, the wind begins to rise. You're back outside the monastery of Evfa, and I will take a moment here to pause and cast the Far spell to take a little look at the Archmage, for it seems he is finally ready to face me, although a few smaller preparations wouldn't go amiss. See you in a bit.
So here we are with the Archmage, almost complete. I'm not entirely happy with these purple highlights. Essentially they contrast a little too much with the shades beneath. I've got a very dark purple, a not quite so dark purple, and then this lighter sort of mauve-ish tone, which is contrasting a little too much, so I might have to touch up these highlights. Now, at this point, he's pretty much finished. I'll see if he needs a few more finishing touches, but he's pretty much ready for varnish. I am quite pleased with the way the Archmage has turned out. I need to tidy up around the rivets on the hem of his robe in a few places. I think there's one on the back which is a bit egregious. However, yeah, quite pleased. I've even started painting something else now, so that's great. I might do an update later on if he's all well and good, but for now, yeah, he's looking pretty nice. Okay, here we go.
There we have it. The Archmage in all his glory. I might do a separate little video at some point just to show him off, but actual daylight as well instead of the electric light from the last couple of updates. I should try for food. Okay, it might be possible. You step into the yard of the monastery. It is much quieter here, and a sense of calm peace exudes from the buildings, as though protected from the evils of the citadel around. A short flight of steps leads further inside to a wide, busy hall. The monastery is clearly something of a hub for the people of Mampang. I mean, with all the gambling, they are a very chaotic organisation, so yeah, I can see that. You climb the steps into the monastery building. You could go further into the monastery or take your leave. I misread that as the rat men for a moment there. You return to the altar room. A cluster of dormitories is full further down the hall. All is quiet in the chamber. In the darkness of Mampang, this place feels like an oasis of calm. And I am not allowed to come in here. Then I shall depart. You step back into the main courtyard. Back out to the main road. I tried. Perhaps it was too early in the day. Perhaps I'm just not allowed to seek food in there if dressed as a monk. Disappointing, but we'll see. You return to the west side of the square. Javine sits against the wall well nearby. A wider road leads west to a run-down area of the city. The sun has reached its highest point now. I don't want to go this close to the gates. The sun is beginning to lower and the air begins to cool. You stride out into the middle of the public square where Mampang's inhabitants go about their business. In the centre is a huge statue of a faceless man holding a crown aloft. The Archmage. And indeed, this posture is rather similar to the miniature, although here the hands seem to be stretched downwards. And the lack of a face is somewhat concerning. So. Sure. The statue seems unimaginably old, and yet the Archmage depicted here is definitely holding the crown of kings. In other words, he intended to seize it long ago. Has he been planning this theft for such a long time then? Or is this prophecy a celebration of a day destined to come? I'd say both. Both, perhaps. Depends how accurate the crown is, but if his face is worn away completely, then how badly worn is the crown? And how is it still recognizable? I could cast a spell. There may be many witnesses. This is not a wise idea. I'll make a move. You could head in several directions from here, and indeed I shall. Indeed I shall. The buildings on the eastern edge are a little more ramshackle. The arch to the merchant's building leads away here. An alley runs past it. A pillory sits to the north of here. The sun disappears, heading towards the horizon. That was quick. Head down the alley. You could cross the square or explore the fringes. I'm going this way. You make your way along the alley. A lane leads off. The wind picks up as the evening draws on. Looking down the lane, you see a large tavern with plenty of noise coming from it. Time to continue. I have been warned about these alleys, but I will go to the tavern. On the off chance I can meet Flanker here. Now, I have received a vision of Flanker reaching the Archmage, weapon drawn, and suddenly becoming friendly, almost as if he is controlled magically. A sign hangs outside the tavern door. This is the Bony Hand. I have no money. There may be a way in here to make money, but I doubt it. To enter the tavern, you are forced to duck under the low door frame. The whole building seems to have sunk at least a foot into the ground, either from age, neglect, or both. You're probably safe from the guard patrols in here. Might even find Rani here, actually. Most of the crowd are merchants or other visitors to Mampang. You see a good number of messengers and clerks returning from far-flung eastern areas of the Archmage's growing kingdom. The Crown has extended his grip across a wide area, much of it normally occupied by proud cultures who would fight back if it were not for the Crown's controlling powers. Now it takes nearly as many bureaucrats as soldiers to maintain it all. There are several tables, both occupied and empty, and a little space at the bar. Have a little talk around. Or if I... Hang on. Someone could approach me. You find a corner table and sit down. You survey the room, marvelling at how such a jolly place exists in Mampang. The rest does you well, and you feel a little stronger for it. A stranger walks up to your table, their face completely obscured by a plain yellow cloth. "May I sit?" they ask, voice muffled. "Please do." You gesture to the seat. The stranger bows a fraction, then sits. "My thanks. It has been a tiring journey. I move very slowly, you understand." "Who are you?" "I am a priest of the Sun Serpent," he says. "I pay homage to its great light." I'm not going to tell him I destroyed the Sun Serpent. The Sun Serpent? He'll say, "But you're a monk. Surely you know about the Sun Serpent. Serpents are monsters. A most powerful goddess, I am certain." The Sun Serpent? You ask, masking the disbelief in your tone. "Yes. She is a glorious monster who controls the light in the world." The stranger's eyes twinkle above the mouth mask. "But the serpents are monsters." "The pantheon of animals are beasts, and Libra is a meddler, yet others pay homage to them." It's pushing for a confrontation here. Well, that's not entirely the same. "Those are spirits. The serpents exist in our world. I, for one, prefer a god I can meet," the priest says. "Why is your face covered?" "So I am not blinded by the glory of the Sun Serpent. To gaze upon its light would be too much for the eyes of a mere mortal. Where have you travelled from? Pray tell. Far across the southern sea, where the serpents are properly worshipped. I have walked the breadth of this old world, trying to bring the serpent's light to the masses. Most choose to remain ignorant, though. Why have you come now to Mampang? I heard that the Archmage has connections to the serpents. Fools claim that he commands them, but that is obviously a fiction. He must be another worshipper they have seen fit to aid. If I still had the Sun Serpent here, that could have made for a very interesting encounter. I could have handed it to him, broken it open. It would have probably have attacked me. He would have been like, "How dare you? How dare you capture the Sun Serpent? It must be freed at once." Have you met him? He shakes his head. No, the Archmage has not seen fit to grant me an audience. I gather he sees very well these days. Very few these days. Perhaps he is ill. Well, this was most edifying, the priest says as he stands. Bowing once more, he leaves. But you are done resting. You get to your feet once more, and I'm starting to feel very unsafe in here. But I will take a small risk. You walk over to a group of black elves clustered around a table. Empty cups are scattered on the floor around them, and a dagger sticks out of the table. They are dressed in armour, though they seem to be relaxed. Mercenaries, with a written document no less. One of them points at you as you pass. "Brother, you are lost," he cries. "What's a godly type like you doing in a drunken hole like this?" Perhaps he's drunk, although then there'd probably be a comma after the first "you." "He looks like someone dragged up from the river," another cries. The others laugh at your expense. I'll laugh back. You meekly laugh along, which only increases their amusement. The black elf continues to insult you, then I'll just turn away and hope he doesn't strike me as I try to leave. You move away to the delight of the elves. Their taunts sting your ears as you head through the crowd. They probably think they've seen me off, and I might as well aid in their illusion. You head back onto the path and back to the square. No, not the square! The alleyway, if you please. Thank you. You make your way back into the alley. The sun has almost set and the sky has turned a deep purple. It will be dark soon. You must keep going. You follow the road to a junction where a collection of nestled, winding alleys lead away. Darkness closes in. You need to rest, especially on an empty stomach. Peering down them hints at a maze of twisting paths and shadowy nooks. There is a small fire here, which a few figures sit glumly around. This is very risky, but I'm going to click this. You put your pack down and against one side of the street, a little way out of the circle of firelight. The group around the fire pay you no attention. I'll close my eyes and hope I don't get robbed or murdered in the night. You have not yet eaten today, but you have no provisions. Only 2 vials of blimberry juice, which I should save for emergencies. You lie back and try to forget your troubles and the gnawing hunger in your stomach. What is left of the night is restless with visions. You feel a hot wind gathering around your body. You are lifted into the biting air and pulled across the citadel. A dark, brooding shadow awaits at the end of your flight that grows larger and larger with every passing moment. This is hopefully a dream. There is a voice. "Ah," comes a voice, cracked with age and hollowed by soulless laughter. "There you are." Where am I? Oh, bollocks. Well, I was going to go and explore all of the towers over on the other side, but I don't think I'm going to get a chance now. You stand on an open balcony with a view across endless frozen wastes. A figure stands before you and turns to greet you. And he has a censer there, full of incense. Are those souls drifting up from it? Well, it looks like the incense is screaming. Finally, breathes the Archmage of Mampang. I've been trying to reach you for so long. In his hand is a brass pendulum and a crown. I'm not going to act demanding, because he wants to make me out to be the villain of this piece. What is this place? You ask. This, he sweeps an arm across the mountain tops. This is High Zaman, the roof of the world and the well of all powers, the closest place to the stars. Here a sorcerer is triple what he can be elsewhere, he grins. Sadly, however, you are not here. I have simply summoned your dreaming eye to my presence like an obedient dog, but you see me as I am. I have the crown. It belongs to the king of Analand. Now I'm sure you know what the crown does, the Archmage responds calmly. No one will take it from me, not least some ill-equipped, half-starved sorcerer novice, who defeated all your serpents. The Archmage narrows his eyes. Foolish reptiles. He sighs and turns the crown in his hand this way and that. It is beautiful, though, is it not? Worth dying for? Well, it's certainly worth fighting for. No, because that will give him justification in fighting. Why don't you ask yourself that? I am 1,015 years old, he replies. I don't expect to die any time soon. For a moment you feel the mountains underneath you shiver and twist. Clearly whatever spell is being cast here is beginning to fade. Why did you bring me here? You are hunting me, are you not? Well then, here I am. Take a look at your quarry. You will not deter me from my quest. I have no doubt, but know this. He fixes you with eyes as empty as smoked glass. I am the greatest seer that has ever lived. I have explored every possibility, and I know something to be true. If you come to Mampang, you will die. I'm kind of here already. And the Z spell, which I'm sure he knows about. Then why do you fear me so? You retort. I am only concerned with your well-being, as of that of all my subjects, as any father would be. The Archmage smiles meanly. You are truly evil. Very well, then. He nods and bows. You are welcome to come and die in my great house. Then his smile becomes a scowl. Only wipe your boots. And with a flick of the wrist, you're dismissed, tossed like a stone back across the mountains, and mocking laughter ringing in your ears. You have found no clues, and the Archmage is still looking for you. You wake next morning to find the narrow street still in darkness. You get quickly to your feet once more. I'll look at the people. The people gathered here have a cluster of tents to one side, along with packs and gear. A small fire burns in a dugout pit, and they sit around it, chatting over a bubbling stew. A rat scurries over your foot, then stands nearby, boldly staring. If I cast a spell, people might notice, but I'll try. Not sus. Can I get a howl? Ooh. 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 Sure. And it's going to say, don't go into the alley. Consulting the constellations above, you bind the spell. A calm voice enters your mind. Head east and be wary of dark corners, the voice says, for there are many dangers here. I'll look at the alleys. The alleys are a rat's nest of building and winding streets. They seem to go on forever and yet curve immediately away out of sight. I'll move on. Several alleys lead off from here. Compass. O compass, wherefore art thou? East is, therefore, so that's kind of southeast. East is up that alley. Very well, then. The East Road. Tricky. Beware of dark corners. You head into the alleys, curiously trying to follow the vague hints you have been given about the route. The early morning sun makes the air glow. The paths turn this way and that until you reach a fork. You look down one of the alleys. It seems no different from the other you followed here. Indeed, it looks exactly the same. The second alley looks all but identical to the first. Well, this time we will take the right-hand path. And hope nothing too bad happens. Your instincts suggest the right road, but you will have to keep moving. You must surely be reaching the edge of the alleyways by now, but they're magical. You have walked a considerable distance. To your surprise, the alleyway emerges suddenly into a crossroads of the fire pit where you started. Okay, let's go back and try again. Oh, this is a different location now. I see. You disappear into the alleyways once more, following lanes that seem to switch back and twist in on themselves. As the morning moves on, the wind begins to rise. After passing several blocks, you begin to develop the sense that there is more land here than could possibly fit. I'll look around. Retracing my steps is probably a bad idea. It keeps changing anyway. Stopping to turn around on the spot. You see no movement. The buildings are empty, their shutters hanging loose, and a gentle smell of decay drifts across the streets. I'll keep walking. Don't need to shout. You move cautiously on. The alleyways all look the same. You stumble around a corner and come upon a small open square in which a single building lists slightly to one side. The building is made of haphazard stone blocks, roughly piled on top of one of the other, into a slightly listing structure. It is, however, most definitely a house. Hope it doesn't fall on me. Curious, you approach this building. Is this place the cause of the strange disturbance to this area? On its own? I doubt it. Also, this building is one I would like to get to at some point. You approach the house, a narrow two-story affair that, like most of Mampang's buildings, is showing signs of trouble and decay. As you approach, you notice the front door is hanging ajar. I'll listen. You put an ear to the open door. Well, that's not going to be very good. There is no sound coming from within. I'll peek in at a window. You peek in the side window, glimpsing a kitchen. A few embers lie on the hearth, but no one is cooking. But someone has had a fire lit here recently. I'll walk inside cautiously. You walk inside, wincing at your own impropriety. Look, I'm looking for keys, I'm looking for clues, I'm looking for things I do not have. The front hall is sparse but cared for. Your feet sink into a colourful rug. To your right there is the kitchen you spied before. Some stairs are nearby. There are several vases of flowers, all fresh. This place is clearly not abandoned. There are a few ways to go. Up the stairs. You head up the stairs. The upper floor is one large room. 2 double beds sit at opposite sides with trunks at the foot of each. A rug is in the centre with a few toys scattered about. A small table sits by one wall with a small box on top of it. There are more flowers here. I will not rob the place, but I will cast a spell. Sus, I think, would be good right about now. And it's not available. Far seems like a good idea, actually. Sure. You sit cross-legged on the ground and put your arms on the orb of crystal. You move the stars into alignment around you and everything changes. You see yourself sitting at the table inside of this very house. You're chatting amiably with a plump woman, some bread and dice before you. Oh no, not the dice game again. I'll go downstairs. You turn to leave, only to hear a door opening downstairs. A muffled woman's voice comes from below. Forgot to lock it again. Oh, those children. You hear her moving around in the front hall, humming to herself. I will announce myself. You march down the stairs, almost colliding with a plump middle-aged woman. Her eyes pop open, seeing you. Sorry, my lady, I was seeking shelter. The woman is in front of you. Who are you? She demands. What are you doing in my house? Both of these are honest. I mean you no harm, you say. Her eyes narrow. Then why are you here? There's nothing worth stealing after all. I live in the worst house in Mampang. Why is this the worst house? Well, she exclaims, how did you find it? Yeah, I walked the alleys. Randomly, she puts it. This used to be a nice area, you know, but the neighbourhood has really gone downhill. What happened to the alleyways? I have no idea. Something rotten. There used to be a grid. A grid! Can you imagine? You could walk home drunk in the dark. Now if you tried that, you'd probably end up in the outer yards. She peers at you. But you are an odd one. What are you even doing in this part of town? Why don't your clothes fit? Oh, you wouldn't believe it. I'm not from Mampang. I've never heard such a thing. Her eyes narrow. The world outside the wall is dead and dust, she asserts. You can't be from outside. Oh, you must be correct. Good. And yes, I usually am. Now, get out of my house. I'll thank her. You nod a thank you and she shrugs. You hear Molka tidying up as you leave her house, so I didn't get to stay. If I said you wouldn't believe me if I tried, well, she didn't believe the world outside was existing. You walk onwards. Once more, you tumble into the crossroads of the alleyways. I don't think there's much more I can do in there then. You emerge onto the road once more. And I'll head towards the square. I'm not going to get any more money, am I? Yes, I could sell all my gems, but I can't sell them individually, and I don't... I've got a duplicate I could part with, but I can't sell a lot. You pass by the alleys and follow the road as it heads towards the rising wall of Mampang. After a while, the path opens out into a stony clearing. You're into the middle of the part of the day, and yet the citadel is still cold. Guards walk this way and that across the square. Across the square is a low wall set with a door. The guards do not seem to be guarding it, but none are going anywhere near it either. The flagstones of this square are smoothed and worn as though by torrential rain. The people in the square are moving this way and that, seemingly without purpose. They all seem quite concerned and busy, however. You could elbow your way through the strange crowds filling the square. And I shall do that, getting jostled and shoved as I do. You walk across the middle of the small square. Guards move this way and that across the flagstones. In the corner of the square is a tent from which rich smells are rising. I don't have the money. This is not a good place to hang around. You make your way to the far wall, into which is set a low door. You turn to see that the guards in the square have noticed you, but your disguise appears to reassure them. You are not stopped. You feel an incredible energy rising from behind the door, as though something was chained there. Which way now? I'm not... This feels so dumb. The guards will chase me. You enter an area similar to the yard of towers and flagstones on the west side of the citadel. The sun is beginning to lower and the air begins to cool. The water looks cold as ice and has no reflections. Some of the towers rise to the height of trees, while others have been cut down, and others are nothing but circles of rubble. Smoke rises from some, while others crackle with gentle light and energy. This place is clearly buzzing with power. You could explore deeper or escape back to the relative safety of Mampang. My suspicion is that the final encounter with the Archmage will be a spell battle that will involve lots of counterspelling, and since we have to learn every possible counterspell, that means surely that they should all be used, either by myself or by him. So I should try to learn everything I possibly can, at great risk to my personal self. You leave the shade of the wall and follow the stepping stones out across the water. Everywhere the signs of ruin abound. Weeds crack the stones. Turret roofs and buttresses have collapsed into heaps. Why has the Archmage allowed such ruin? Surely the rumours of his death cannot be true. The sun begins to dip, heading towards the horizon. You reach the base of a stone tower with a curved archway at its base. The path splits around it. I want to go to this one. Right, let's have a look at these. If I go here, I can backtrack. So I can go here. Oh, there's no connection there. Oh. Okay. Right. They obviously want to invite me into this one first. The wind picks up as the evening draws on. Soon it will be dark once more. You enter the next tower. The inner doors you stand in front of are twice your height and look to be made of solid metal. That's risky. The air is thick with an incredible smell. Personally, I have no sense of smell, but my character does, so I'm going to try to recognize it. You sniff the air. Smoke. Melting metal. It is as though a giant smithy lies behind this door. That is dodgy. You place your ear to the metal and leap backwards. The door is searing hot. The wooden handle should be safe to touch, though. What counters hot? Do I already know? I may already know. I do. Counters dock. Right. I don't need to go in there, in theory. You hurry quickly away from this place. You return to the path and make your way along it. You reach the base of a stone tower. Yes. So I'm going to follow the outer wall, because outside the outer wall is outside and the edge of the map, and then I'll work my way in. The path curves a little as it goes. The path rounds a tower to the north, then splits again. Up ahead is a tower covered by thick mud. I know that spell. South of here is another tower, perhaps, coated over with some kind of black carapace. Ooh. Right. Mud counters FOF. Black, I'm not sure. And I get the opportunity to cast a spell. You reach out and gently touch the black surface of the tower by the wall. It is hard to touch, smooth and cool. If there was ever a doorway here, you cannot make it out. Maybe throw in a howl? You know what? Sure. You sit cross-legged on the ground and put your palms on the orb. You craft the spell and everything changes. You are reaching into a deep, dark, narrow hole. A foul smell wraps itself around your head, but your fingers have closed on something small and metal. The vision fades. I do have nose plugs. That does sound important. I'll smash the black coating a little bit. You draw your blade and hammer on the black coating, but though bits flake off, you cannot break the whole thing open. Right, what other spells can I cast? Pep. So this is obviously preparation for some unknown. Reaching up to the stars, you create the magic, and before your eyes the black coating seems to trickle away into the ground. The tower door is revealed. You appear inside the curious tower, but the interior is shadowy and dark. You slip inside the strange tower. I've got my sun gem. Is this the Chamber of Night? The dim room smells musty, like the interior of an old chest. There is no light. The tiny windows are all covered over with the curious thick black substance that coats the walls and floor. The substance seems to spout in small globs from an outlet set into a raised block of stone in the middle of the chamber. Well, obviously, the positioning of the block is like that of an altar, but the pipe drilled through it reminds you of alchemical equipment. The thick sludge coming through does not remind you of anything much, however. I'm not going to touch the slime. You run your fingers over the slime on the floor. Mere seconds after leaving the pipe, it is congealed into a glassy layer, cool and smooth like caramelized sugar. You step outside once more into the cool of the ruins. What new spell have I uncovered? So this is some kind of spell that reveals illusions. Or reveals things that are magically hidden. And it doesn't counter the invisibility spell. It also doesn't seem to have been entered into my spellbook. So that is interesting. I'll need to remember that. What? Was that it? No. No, it's not there. Interesting. So that muddy tower, probably quicksand. It's not a place to stand still. But it will get me into all these. Okay. As the sun has almost set and the sky has turned a deep purple, you approach the next tower. A fetid scent assaults your nostrils. The inside of the tower is cavernous, far larger than should be possible. The stone floor on which you stand is turned into a thin strip of soft earth, choked by reeds, and beyond it is a deep pool of foul-smelling water. This could be the place I reach into with the strong smell. Obviously, I think I sense some kind of danger here. You bind the constellations into your design around you and feel a terrible sense of foreboding emanating from the water. Something is wrong. Insects buzz and reeds rustle as creatures pass between them. You cannot spot the ceiling of the room, but there must be one, surely. In the centre of the marsh, a platform with a low hut sits perched on rotten stilts. A boardwalk leads to it, dotted with spent torches. This feels very, 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 very dangerous. Why would I cast mud in a swamp? Sus, already cast. Law. I don't swim. Huh. Sorry about that. I don't think the creatures are massing to attack just yet. Fourth. Counters mud. Sure. You cast the enchantment, but the force field does not materialize. Instead, the whirlpool begins to slow, and then it stills. The water also begins to clear. Why would the swamp be affected by such a spell? Because it's a counter-spell. You make your way a little further into the room. The floor is dirt, and the little beach by the door soon disappears into the swamp. There is no way to walk around the room. Well, fine. I'll fly then. Doesn't cost me anything. Zap! No, I don't want to do zap. Niff. Place already pongs. Hot, burn it up. No. So, oh, that wasn't available. Right. No, I'm leaving. You turn away from the swamp. Its foul gases making you gag and choke. There are other doors from this place, but only one that you can reach. The one I came through. Yep. Well then, I'll have to find another way. The path feels as though it is rising, but the waters around are flat. Another night begins. You should find a place to sleep, especially on an empty stomach. The path rounds a tower to the north, then splits again. South of here is the Black Tower. I'm moving. You move away from the strange black-clad tower. And also from this junction. I've got to sleep here on stepping stones. You should find somewhere safe to sleep if you can. Yeah, probably not on stepping stones. The path curves onwards. Moonlight covers everything. The path ends at a tower. The tower is squat and wide. It has clearly been long abandoned, but from inside comes the faintest sound of music. Oh! What could count a jig? I may already know the answer to this. I suspect I do not. Oh! Sap, right? Sap and jig makes total sense. Jig counters dumb. Okay then. Oh, because it makes you clumsy. Right. You cross the waters and push your way inside the next tower. The chamber inside is bare except for an empty table at the centre. Various items lie around it as though they had fallen off the surface during some kind of earthquake. Doors face each other on the opposing walls of the tower. I'll look at the things on the floor. Strewn around the table are an odd assortment of things. A broken cup, a decent-looking broadsword, and a bare bone from a hunk of meat. Well, what about the table? You ignore the rubbish on the floor and go over to the table and look it over. It seems ordinary enough. Its surface is etched with scratches and grooves, but nothing intelligible. Is dumb available? And jig available? No D. There's a J. That's not a J, is it? Here is a J. Why would I... Maybe dumb... Maybe this is a clumsy tower and you can't pick things up? Looking to the constellations overhead, you craft the spell, pulling out your bamboo flute and starting to play. The sound echoes around the space, but nothing else seems to happen. Has there been an outcome from your spell? You cannot spell, but you did not seem to feel compelled to dance. I'll take stuff. You look down. Take the broadsword. You reach down and pick up the broadsword. Giving it a swing, it feels well weighted and sharp. A dumb spell then, countered by your jig spell, so the music was a clue. There is nothing more on the floor of the room but junk. I'll sleep here. This seems like a safe, sheltered spot to curl up. Laying your pack down, you try to stretch out under your habit despite the hard floor. You have eaten nothing today, but you have no provisions and only 2 files of Blimbridges, which I must save. You get comfortable and rest. The remainder of the night is filled with vivid dreams. You stand in a crowd of others, Analanders fleeing a darkness gathering in the east. You are all struggling to get aboard a boat, but one by one people are turning to stone where they stand. Through it all, you feel the heat of Analand burning should your quest fail. In the Tower of Fumbling, you found no new clues and the Archmage is still waiting for you. You pick yourself up to your feet and look about. The tower seems quiet and mournful in the night. I'm going to leave. You make your way to the door, quite satisfied. Good, so it's not come back. You step back out onto the path and follow it a short way. The early morning sun makes the air glow. 3 paths meet at this point in the shadow of the western rock. Well, I came up this one, that goes back to the furnace tower, so I think I know exactly which way I'm going. Which path will you take now? This one. Blatantly this one. The air moves a little around you, still icy but fresh. You enter the tower. This tower is gloomy. You begin to feel a great weight upon your shoulders as you step inside. The interior hardly seems worth describing this place. I obviously want to cast a spell. You look around with a sense of hopelessness. In the middle of the space is a skeleton who seems to feel equally heavy and sad. You open your arms to cast a spell, but then they droop to your sides. What, after all, is the purpose? Spells never do what they're supposed to. They're always ruined by some minor triviality, some detail of the rules of casting. You sigh. Your whole journey has been a waste of time. A memory comes back. The girl in the forest, Elise. She got eaten by snattercats, most likely, and you didn't do anything to help her. I don't agree. I will pray for aid. You try looking to your graceful god for guidance, but of course Khare is too perfect to talk to you. Clearly religion is for fools and no-hopers. You slump down on the ground. You think of the crown of kings just over in the nearby tower and completely out of reach. You might as well have stayed at home. I came all this way. Looking at the skeleton seems to be the only possible option here. You look listlessly over at the skeleton. Maybe whoever it was died of boredom or hunger. You can't fault them for it, really. What would be the point in doing anything else? So was my only opportunity to leave there? In which case I'm trapped between these these towers. The clumsy tower, the burning tower, and the swampy tower that I counterspelled it, but not enough. Perhaps leaving would have given me an option to run to one of the other 2 exits quickly before the sadness took hold. What is the point? And now they will call you the Analand. But most likely you're going to die here. Again. You head for the exit, but give up after a few paces. There's nothing out there worth finding, after all. Just more of the same. You might as well stay here. Trying to fight it always seems to fail, so I'm going to sulk for a bit. You stick out your tongue and cross your arms. You sit down to wait. Someone had better come and help you. You begin to weep uncontrollably. Right, that's it. I'm going to get up and try for the door again. You move an inch towards the door. It is only an inch. Hardly worth it. But it is an inch more than the skeleton has managed. The slack-jawed idiot. Oh, you let out a deep, pathetic groan. You crawl another inch closer to the door. There's no use denying it. You're closer than you were. You continue waiting. Something had better turn up. You inch another half step towards the floor, across the floor. Your body feels heavy as stone and your heart is barely beating. It is as though your limbs are refusing to comply. So now I can't pray for healing. That's annoying. Unless the prayer gave me the strength to cross the floor. Another inch and you're moving out of the eye of whatever spell holds this tower. You find yourself moving a little more now. You sit down to wait once more. Maybe the Archmage will come for you for once. No. Perhaps weeping gives us strength to continue. One more inch, and then you're up on your feet, running, racing out of this hellish tower of nothing and gasping for breath. And I am going this way. What would counter the sun spell? You hurry across another stone arch, not looking down. Oh, fog, right? A few clouds drift across the sky. This tower has no door, just an open arch leading into shadow. I'll look inside. Peering through the arch, you make out some kind of yellowish light coming from within. You step inside the doorway and then stop suddenly, half blinded by the glowing lustre that fills this chamber. Your footsteps crunch and you look down. It seems the floor is covered with gold, coins, jewels and emeralds of every shade and hue. This is an illusion. Doors lead away in both directions. I will cast a spell. What would counter... I'm not going to summon a goblin. Mud? No. Far? This isn't a DOP spell. This is a, the Illusion of Treasure spell. Dock counters hot. Right, what do we got? We got sus. No counter. Makes total sense. As would a house spell. Oh, okay. You wind the starlight into shape around you and a quiet voice begins to speak to you. There is nothing to be afraid of here except perhaps your own greed. Oh. Is it cursed coinage? Is it poisonous? Now. Where are we? Where are we? We already know counter for how. Doze. Uh-huh. Dud? Right. What would counter Dud? Illusionary riches will disappear as soon as the caster is out of sight. That's not a danger. So there is a danger inherent in the treasure. It could be another treasure monster. Right. This isn't about danger, this is about learning. And learning counterspells. Right. Mud. I'm looking for something that won't counter. Far then. You sit cross-legged on the ground and put your palms on the orb of crystal. You weave the spell and everything changes. You see a vision of yourself hoarding the gold, stuffing it into every pocket and crevice of your pack. Then you step outside and it melts away. The vision also disappears. Great, so what can I get that counters that? And I don't mean makes the treasure exist. I don't think summoning a goblin is going to be the counterspell. I don't think any of the summon spells are going to be counterspells. Dock is a known counter already. Mud is a known counter. Gob. Mud. Far. Dock. Sus already cast. Maybe the summons are counters. I don't know. I may return to this tower later. The treasure is merely illusion, of course. You head for the doors. You run over to the next tower before the wind can snatch you away. You stop at the tower's edge. There is a narrow opening in the grey stone. The tower's opening is barely wide enough for you to slip inside while you are wearing your assassin's sword. It is a curious design, as though a normal door was built and then the tower itself was stretched. You can make out nothing from within. Well then, I'd better sneak inside. You squeeze through the narrow opening. The passage beyond does not widen, but a warm breeze tickles your face as you approach a heavy inner door. I'll listen at the door. You pause to listen, only to make out a quiet groaning coming through the door. You knock once, and the sound booms around the space within. No response. You move through the door into a narrow, tall room, and I may regret this. That's a long way down. The chamber is wider than the doorway suggested, and it is cluttered. Numerous skeletal bodies lie here, scattered around the base of an altar on a raised dais. Overhead, something dark and shadowy looms indistinct. Why am I thinking spider? You turn your gaze upwards. Hung from the ceiling is the half-rotted head of a great whale. The head is suspended by cruel hooks roughly shoved through its flesh. The wounds have turned purple and putrid from time. I'll look away. I don't want to risk getting drawn into something. You turn away. It is a foul sight. Oddly, there is no stench. Oh! Surrounded by such decay, your nostrils should be filled, but there is nothing. This is an illusion of some sort. You turn your gaze back down from the whale to the bodies that lie around here. Pieces of skin and rags cling to the bones of the skeletons. A moment later you have a terrible sense that somewhere, some of them have moved. You kick a nearby skeleton. The bones skitter across the floor a short way and fall still. As you consider your next move, another drip of water falls from the dead whale's mouth, splashing into a puddle on the altar. Some of it scatters from the impact, landing on the skeleton you kicked. A moment later the jawbones open, emitting a quiet groan. The skeleton, with only patches of skin left on his face, begins to struggle to try and stand. I will help him up. You reach out to help him. The jawbones flap as the skeleton begins to talk. "What happened?" he whispers. It is unclear where the breath comes from. "Why am I here?" "Who are you?"
I am... The skeleton's thin voice shivers away to silence. He looks up at the whale's head and at the savage cut along its neck. Almon, is that truly you? Another drip falls from above, striking a corpse on the other side of the altar. Its one remaining eye rolls wildly in response, but she lacks a jaw and cannot cry out. I'll observe the skeletons. No, wait, cast a spell. What have I got? What have I got? What have I got? Is res available here? No, rock is available. Okay. That's not... right. Hot. Counters dock. Not what we need here. 6. Not a known counter. Nap then? Ooh. Wait a minute. Nap is not available. Do we even know Nap? We must do. Right. Dud. Illusion of treasure. We don't know what would counter Dud. But Doze would make them slow. So this appears to be some kind of illusion or some kind of necromancy. Probably some kind of illusion. Not 6. So we've got Doze. 6. Dud. Dud as a counter, based on the adjacent tower, might actually be a semi-good idea. Although a really bad one as well. So it's not going to be hot. It's not going to be rock. I don't have the coin anyway. Oh! Counters fall. Well, I don't need that. If there are spell components that I only have one of, I should save them for the Archmage. This is dumb. What is Nap? Probably in this direction. Sleepy? Sleepy. The skeletons are resting. Oh! Okay, so if the altar is a clue and the skeletons are resting... This is so dumb. It's like the Giver of Sleep, but completely different. Consulting the stars, you bind the magic and your jewel of gold begins to shine and gleam. A moment passes and then the skeleton suddenly raises both its hands in supplication. Ailmon, it cries, you visit us! Bless us and save us! What is this place? I'll bless him. You hold out a hand and murmur indistinctly for a moment. Dressed in the robes of a monk, the skeleton visibly relaxes. Now I know I will return to the sea, he murmurs, even when I die. So saying, he collapses on the spot. Observe the skeletons. The reanimated skeleton staggers back against the altar. He looks around again, then walks off in a random direction. The second skeleton seems fixated on the whale's head now. From the savage wound where her jaw should be comes a strangled gurgling which might be weeping. I'll walk to the altar. You step towards the altar. Water drips again from the whale's head, splashing onto the near skeleton.
Before your eyes he raises up again, ancient bones creaking. But the animated skeleton moves quickly to block your way, loosely gripping a rusty sword. "You cannot touch the holy place," he whispers. "It is for the holy ones alone." Is there? Something else. So, there was an effect. I don't think it countered anything. Dud. Nap counters God, but we don't have Nap. So it's not God, even though they are all worshipping. Hot counters Doc, no. I'm not sure that's going to be helpful. Okay, no rock. 6 might counter something. You weave the stars into order around you, and 5 clones step out from behind you, forming a semicircle. The clones begin to spread across the room. One strays too close to a legless skeleton, who grabs for him and drags him to the ground. I'll cancel the spell. This is doing no good. You cancel the spell. Let's cast a different spell. Let's cast... Okay, no R, no S. So we're looking at a D, H... Sorry, no R, S, or H. So we're looking at a D or a G. I've used the only G options, so D. Doze or Dud. Look, in the interest of trying to find a counter spell, not that, obviously. You craft the enchantment, and after a moment, gold and jewels begin to spill forth from under your sleeves and from the neck of your boots, rolling away across the ground, but the skeletons seem impervious to the lure of gold. They barely even register its presence. A headless skeleton missing one leg drags itself near to the altar, dried skin flaking off as it goes. Alright, I'm leaving. You raise your hands and back away. The skeleton nods, calming himself. "I wish to talk to you," you say to the skeleton. The skeleton looks this way and that, as though hunting for you. "Who is there?" he asks, his voice raspy. "Who are you?" "Oh, am I invisible here? Are they blind to me? Surely not." Yaz, counter tell, not available. I'm not going to say I'm Islemon. I am a sorcerer. Islemon may have very positive or negative effects. He recoils. "Sorcerers? No, I have dealt with your kind before, and you are treacherous and cruel." The skeleton shakes so hard his bones rattle in their sockets. A bony hand lifts to the brow of the skull and clutches as though in desperate thought. "How did you come to be here?" "I remember. I was chained to a wagon, forced to walk a long way. The wagon was covered. There was something huge in it. There was a stench, a smell of rotting flesh." Was it that head hanging on the... What is... Yeah. What else do you remember? "I am a priest. I stand at the altar of Islemon, basking in its mystery. A man came. He blasphemed, and I was angry. I shouted at him, but he was calm." Was that the Archmage? His dried skin cracks when his brow furrows. "I don't know who it was, who he was. I don't know." The creature is clearly deranged from whatever magic is at work in this room. You nod and move away. Once more the skeleton waves his sword in front of the altar as though he does not remember you. What kind of spell? So, doze. Reaching up to the constellations above, you create the spell, and the skeleton's jerky movements slow significantly. It steps towards you, its foot seeming to hover in the air. You can easily dodge around it now. Slipping past the slow grasp of the skeleton, you walk up to the altar. This may be a mistake. You stand before the altar. I could pray at the altar of Ialmon. That's probably a bad idea. The altar is a simple stone block with a few simple carvings of waves and waving plants. Scratched into the stone is a simple glyph, 4 slashed lines. So this is the 4th counterspell to open the door. You touch the glyph. It's crudely carved. A later addition, perhaps? I'm backing away. You back away from the altar as the skeletons die once more. They resurrect once more moments later, and again, mind again blank, comes to stand between you and the altar. You circle the walls of the room, looking for a doorway and a way out of this place. From behind, you hear the clatter as the skeletons collapse once again. I've found one new clue. Really? The number 4? You found a glyph 1 in the Tower of Berries. Found glyph 4 in the Tower of Skeletons. They do not know, they do not remember. The Tower of Berries. Third spell is Spell of Invisibility. The first is of fire. Fire berries. The second of stone. The third is unseen. The fourth is unknown. They do not know. Tricky. Time to depart from this place. You step out onto a stone walkway that leads sharply down towards the crystal dome. And here, I think I'm going to leave this episode. I think it's a fairly decent length. Yeah, I hope you've all enjoyed this one, and I look forward to seeing you all in the very next episode. I'm going to say goodbye for now, though, and cheerio, everyone. See you all soon.